Hopefully. There we go. So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the last session of day 2 of our Meet the Regulators week. And we've got Dave Brookfield from West Midlands Fire and Rescue Service to talk to us about the role of fire safety inspectors. Thanks for giving up your time today, Dave, and over to you.
Hello, everybody. There's not a lot of people present in the room, but I understand there's going to be a lot of people dialing in to view it later, which is absolutely fine. As you've just been told, my name is Dave Brookfield. I'm a fire safety inspecting officer and a fire engineer for the West Midlands Fire and Rescue Service. I'm based at the Vauxhall Road, right in the middle of Birmingham, but my territory spans all the way across the West Midlands Fire Service. I'm responsible for regulating fire in those areas. I've created a little bit of a PowerPoint, which I have shared with Bays, and hopefully you'll be able to receive that later. But we'll run through some of these. This is me. This is how to get hold of me, email or phone. Email's probably the best because sometimes I'm in a situation where I can't pick up a phone. Right, so today we're going to talk about fire safety in the West Midlands Fire Service area. Hopefully we're going to try and tell you what we regulate and how. I'm going to give you a brief overview on competency of our inspectors, where we sit within a framework. We're going to have a little bit of a chat on development pathways of how we invest time and money into our inspecting officers in order to make them a rounded fire safety inspector. I'm going to talk to you about my specialist role, what a fire engineer does in the local fire and rescue authority. And then we'll finish on the challenges coming up that are facing us in the fire and rescue service in the imminent future. This is what I regulate. Basically, in a nutshell, the Regulatory Reform Fire Safety Order 2005. It is an act of Parliament. It was made in 2005, hence the name. It came into force 2006, and it repealed dozens of pieces of legislation into one. Again, here's the link so you can go and find it. The basic crux of the Regulatory Reform Fire Safety Order is if relevant people are at risk of death or serious injury from fire or its effects, I have an enforcing authority duty to reduce that risk some way, shape or form. Whether that's removing the risk of fire from the premises or removing the relevant people from the premises. I have both options available to me in my toolkit. We don't like to remove the people, we prefer to remove the risk. The key thing about Regulatory Reform Fire Safety Order is where it does and doesn't apply. It doesn't apply in people's domestic premises. It doesn't apply in people's homes. There is a bit of a debate going on at the minute about with people working from home from COVID, after COVID and the new normal. Would that apply? But I don't know. It's for greater legal minds than mine to to figure that one out. Competency of our inspectors for years and years and years. We as a service industry, as an industry, the fire and rescue sector, we've been telling people to get their fire risk assessors third-party accredited. Then it's absolutely important that these people are third-party accredited and competent. So how do we measure competency? Is it in the eye of the beholder? Until 2 years ago in the Fire and Rescue Service, it was. In January 2020, the National Fire Chiefs Council brought out the competency framework, and that laid down clear expectations of what each and every fire safety regulator will be, both in terms of qualification and third-party accreditation to call themselves competent or not. We are measured against this framework by the National Fire Chiefs Council and also the Her Majesty's Inspector of Fire. There are 7 clear layers within the framework for fire safety regulators. I'll not bore you too much about the different layers, but it starts off with a non-fire safety specialist. That's some of our operational crews. If they turn up, they see something's wrong, they can then refer that down the pathway to one of the other inspecting officers. And then it goes all the way up to the table 7, which is your senior fire engineer, which is somebody who holds a master's degree in fire engineering. It's quite clear that it has to be in fire engineering and is third-party accredited, and that's where I sit. I keep telling my gaffer that I sit at the top of the tree, but he keeps throwing stones at me and knocking me down. Third-party accreditation was added to that requirement. I like the fact it's third-party accredited. It gives somebody else a chance to make an opinion on whether or not they think you're doing your job properly or not. I really like that third-party accreditation element. And again, there's the link, so you can download it and peruse it as you feel fit. It basically boils down to this, though. We in West Midlands Fire Service, we do echo the competency framework in our levels of regulators. First off, we have the BSV. The BSV is the business support vehicle, and we'll come on to that in a bit, but it is part of the fire safety team. They are very often the very first person at a fire safety incident. After that, the next level of inspector is the FSIO, or the Fire Safety Inspecting Officer. The Fire Safety Inspecting Officer is expected to have a level 4 in fire safety auditing and also be third-party accredited. Then you can branch off once you've got to the top of the inspection tree, as it were. You can branch off and become a team leader and be part of the leadership team, or as I have done, I've scooted over into fire engineering. My previous line managers obviously saw something in me, because they invested 6 years in me, sending me to university to do, first of all, a bachelor's and then a master's in fire engineering, all part-time, all fully supported by the brigade, and I am always eternally thankful to West Midlands Fire Service for that, and I do push it with anybody I can. So what do each of those layers do? This is one of our BSVs. We have 3 of those in the organisation. They're available from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, which are key business hours. They are generally the first port of call for any business, for any problems that they may have with fire safety regulation. Either a referral from themselves asking a question, or a referral from a member of the public with a complaint. But it's generally the BSV that goes. As you can see, it's part of the fleet. It's fully liveried up. It's got blue lights, and it will respond to incidents, fire safety related incidents, on a blue light basis. And that's the very first level. They're expected to have a level 3 in fire safety auditing from an external provider, and also be third party accredited. Next on the list, the Fire Safety Inspecting Officer. These are the people who are in the grassroots of businesses, as it were. They're the ones that go out doing the day-to-day auditing. They'll inspect the premises. They'll then assess the risk of relevant people being put at risk of death or serious injury from fire or its effects. It's those people on the ground that make that judgment call based on their training, qualification, and some cases 30 years worth of experience. They're the people that will go in. They're the ones that ask for your portable appliance testing records, your weekly test maintenance records, your fire strategies, your fire risk assessments. They will get a level of confidence in the management and the running of the business, and give any advice, help that's needed on that point. Next, we've got the leadership team. They often refer to it as herding cats, hence the picture. They have got a difficult job. They have to set our policies. They set our direction. They choose which premises they'd like us to go and visit next. So it is a tough job for them. Next, the next major layer is fire engineer. There are 2 layers in the framework for fire engineer, level 6 and level 7. Level 6 is a bachelor's, level 7 is a master's degree. I've got this t-shirt and I often wear it around work and get mocked mercilessly. But yes, what we do is we will find a problem and we'll come out with a way of fixing it. What actually is fire engineering? It's a method of building design that meets functional requirements of building regulations without prescriptive codes. We've got dozens and dozens and dozens of codes, guides, recommendations of how to do it. Not all of them fit every solution. Not all of them are appropriate for every building. So we have to use our judgment, again, based on our training, our qualification, our experience, to come up with a solution that is safe. It might not necessarily be listed in a book, but we have to come up with it. We do that with knowledge of principles based on human behaviour and understanding the fire phenomena. Like I say, I studied fire and its effects for 6 years at university. I am third-party accredited, so somebody thinks I'm all right at it. The basic crux of fire engineering is this. This is the amount of time you've got, the tenability limit, in order to stay alive in the building. And this is the amount of time we'd like to get you out of that building, allowing a reasonable margin of safety. So what we'll do is we'll try and whittle down all this pre-movement recognition, alarm time. We'll whittle them down as small as we can to make that margin of safety better, to give more time to evacuate a building. Well, that's the high-end stuff of what we do. Why do we use it? We're getting more and more complicated buildings every single day. Travel distances are being extended. Places that you can go to for refuges are getting slimmer and slimmer, less and less of them. Staircases, we're getting less and less staircases in buildings. If you think about a staircase in a block of flats, the staircase occupies half of what a single flat does. So if you've got 30 floors, that's 15 flats. Some of these flats are worth a lot of money. That's a lot of cash. So it is used primarily in brand new buildings to try and save money but still maintain safety. Using existing building conversions, it's happened a heck of a lot, even more so recently. We have buildings that used to be an office block that get turned into residential accommodation. All fine, but they're built to different requirements, so we have to make sure that they're fine. Guidance does not cover every single situation, so again we have to take a little bit from there, a little bit there, and use our own judgment and make sure that the specific risks from that premises can be addressed. A lot of people use fire engineering to save money. I'm not a great fan of value engineering. However, if it works, it works. My key requirement is, are these people safe? Coming on to a little bit of what I do specifically for the West Midlands Fire Service. My primary role is building regulations consultations. Every time a building is built within the West Midlands Fire Service, plans should be submitted to either the local authority building control or an approved inspector. From there, we are statutory consultees. We have to be consulted. So we get a go at fixing any potential fire safety problems at the very beginning, whilst it's still lines on paper. If we can change something around while it's still in paper form, it's a lot easier than doing it later when the building is constructed. And that's what we try and do. That's my primary role and responsibility for the West Midlands Fire Service. Next, the very reason I'm here today is Primary Authority Partnerships. We in West Midlands Fire Service, we've got a very healthy Primary Authority Partnership section. The primary authorities are run on a day-to-day basis. They're managed via a single point of contact, which is one of our 3 fire engineers. We give the primary authorities to the fire engineers because the fire engineers are the guys who've been in the fire safety section longest. They've seen most problems. They've figured out ways to defeat problems in more than one way, one practical solution or another practical solution. So because we fire engineers are the longest standing, that's why we do it. It gives us a little bit of a unique selling point as well when we come to take on the private-public partnerships. This is the list of partners that I personally deal with. There are some very prestigious names: Nationwide Building Society, Lloyds Banking Group, Marks and Spencers, Stonegate, formerly Enterprise Inns, E.ON, Wilco, as in Wilkinson's, Marie Curie, numerous social care providers. Interesting enough, Marie Curie we do on a voluntary basis. We don't charge. Whilst private authorities are fee recovery, we don't charge anything for Marie Curie. We do that as part of our community social responsibility, all in making West Midlands that little bit safer. You've got numerous social care providers, too many to mention and list, but they're the ones where I feel we make the most difference. They've got the least amount of money, but they have the highest risk profile of their residents. You know, some of them are extremely vulnerable, 60 plus years old, infirm, and so it's them that we've really got to make sure that they're safe. With some of the banking groups, they'll think nothing of throwing £100,000 as the smoke control system. Some of the social care providers, they haven't got that to spend on their fire risk management. So the social care providers are where I think we get our maximum benefit. Individual support. One of my roles is to, if a fire safety officer needs to understand something a little bit better, I can try and help them understand it, rephrase things, work things in a different way, hopefully giving them a better clue of what it was they wanted. And departmental supports. I regularly do training sessions with the entire department on a something or other. They'll come to me, can you knock up something on this? And that's what we'll do. But they're my four primary responsibilities as a day-to-day fire engineer. Some of the recent large projects that I've personally done, HS2, that's still ongoing. There's not a lot of work to be done on the rail tracks, obviously, but the tunnels are quite a large risk, as are the stations. The stations are immense, and they're providing a unique set of problems in themselves. Huey Hospital, that was a fair while away. A fair while ago, but that's coming back on the radar now. It's time to refresh some of the provisions. Birmingham City Council high-rise project, both cladding and sprinklers. Following on from Grenfell, 2 days afterwards, the leader of Birmingham City Council made a public statement that all of their high-rise premises will be sprinklered and every piece of flammable cladding will be removed. So with that, they enlisted the help of us, West Midlands Fire Service, and I was seconded over there. I spent a good 8 months with them, coming up with all of the details and the plans. We have got sprinklers installed in 80% of the buildings now. They're going to go through and finish the rest, and all of the high-risk cladding has been removed. Most of it has been replaced with non-flammable stuff, but the rest of it is going to be replaced soon. So that was a major feather in our cap. Commonwealth Games 2020. This is proving to be again a unique set of problems. I never realised we had so many hotels that needed inspecting, organising, and looking at. But with the high profile of Birmingham for the Commonwealth Games, we've got to make sure it's right. NHS Nightingale. This, I keep talking about unique problems, but NHS Nightingale was a complete unique setup. What we do in fire safety is we balance the fire safety arrangements against the needs of the residents of the building, the people who are going to be using it on a day-to-day basis. When the NEC was an exhibition centre, you don't need that many fire safety arrangements. You just need an alarm that everybody can hear and clear routes so that they can evacuate in time. If it's a hospital for infirm people in their beds, we need a whole different level, and we had to come up with that within a short space of time. We did it working very, very closely with the NHS. We did it. We got a safe solution. Fortunately, it was never needed. Upcoming challenges. These are ones that we, with the Fire Safety Regulator, are facing imminently. We've got the Fire Safety Act of 2021. What that's going to do, following on from Grenfell, that's going to bring external walls into the scope of the fire safety order. There's a lot of discussion that there used to be the walls were in the order anyway because they were communal parts. But the Fire Safety Act will clarify and make it obvious that it is part of the fire safety order and therefore needs including in the fire risk assessment. Same goes with front doors. We're going to have to start regulating people's flat front doors from here on in. And if you think of how many flats we got, how many front doors have we got as well? The building safety bill is on the horizon. There's no definitive date when that's coming through yet. That's a 738, I think, 700-page document on building safety. What I like about it is it requires a building safety case. You have to show that your building is safe. It's not up to the regulator to prove it's not unsafe. It's up to you to show that it's safe. And you'll do that with a building safety case. You get the building safety case, you require a building safety manager. This is going to be a new role. There's going to be hundreds of them landing in the arena very shortly. There's no setup for competency for them. There's no requirements for what they know. So this is going to be a major headache for us going forward with that. So they're basically our upcoming challenges. I've skirted over a lot of things, but only having half an hour to talk about what fire regulation is in the West Midlands Fire Service. I hope I've covered. I think I've covered everything. I've certainly covered all the aspects that we cover. And I don't know how many people are on the call that have any questions. If you're viewing this later online, please feel free to email me, and I'll attempt to answer any of your questions that come through.
Thank you very much, Dave. I've got a couple of questions just
sure.
The last slide about the upcoming challenges. So you're saying about the Fire Safety Act bringing front doors into scope. Is that to do with sort of fire services being able to access people with a double locked door, or is it more to do with sort of the fire safety of the door?
No, it was following on from Grenfell. They tested a lot of the fire doors that were remaining. They found that what should have been a half-hour fire door, for instance, was only given 20 minutes resistance to fire. A lot of flat owners like to personalise their flat. They'll redecorate it in a way that they like. That includes the door. Some flat owners are fitting them with just a normal standard wooden door, which it may or may not be fire rated, but it hasn't been checked or certified. So we don't know. So that's what the fire doors is about. The security element is another issue that we face, but it's more ensuring that if there was a fire in that flat, it can't escape via the door into the common areas and staircases.
Okay, and the building safety managers, is that going to be, do you think, the equivalent of a sort of a responsible person through something like the Licensing Act, that they have that responsibility for the building safety case, and as you say, they don't have at the moment any kind of competency framework, but they would be legally responsible in the event of a fire not going how it should?
Yes, at the minute, the responsible person for the premises, and we'd use the fire safety order to work out who the responsible person would be. They can appoint somebody to help them with their safety, and I see the builder safety manager as currently the health and safety department would look after things like this, or the compliance team would make sure that all of the certificates were safe. I see it as an offshoot of either one of those, possibly a merger between the two as a building safety manager to look after the premises. But they would then be liable under the fire safety order as what we call a 5-3 person, somebody who's giving safety assistance.
So there's potentially a very large piece of work there with educating people what their role will be. and
Yes.
also educating businesses if they're going to use some sort of contractor or external body about making sure that they're appropriately trained, competent, and everything else that goes with it. So yeah, I can appreciate how that's a seems a positive change, as you say, making the responsibility to ensure safety on the owner of the building, but does present some challenges in how it's actually going to work.
Yes, and how do we make sure that this building safety manager is competent? We don't know yet.
So this space. Right, thank you very much, David. It's very interesting, and I'm sure if there will be questions, people can drop you a line. It's a very kind offer,
Yep.
And I think you've given a really nice overview of the work of fire safety inspectors and fire engineers, whose role, unfortunately, in the last few years after Grenfell, I think has been very much in the spotlight, and the value of the work that you do.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me and giving me the platform to talk about what I do.
No, it's been brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. I think we can stop recording now.